of an introduction here. What we're going to go over are a lot of our areas where these coatings can be used. We're going to also talk about our several different Belzona membranes that we have. We're also going to go over some expansion joint materials as well that we can use to help you do any waterproofing. And then also we have a few histories of some before and afters and during service pictures. So we'll start off with our buildings and structures. The main coatings here are going to be Belzona 3111 and 3121. Both of these can go on roofs of almost any kind. They can go on the entire roof like you're seeing in this picture, or you'll see in the next picture, they can go on just gutters, flashing, glazing bars, skylights, any kind of penetrations in the roof, because anyone that owns a roof knows 99 times out of 100, when you do have a leak, it's normally at a penetration or skylight. So there's an example of our membrane across the entire roof. And here's another example of just hitting some localized areas where this client per se didn't need his entire roof refurbished, but he was having some problem areas around his skylight joints leaking. So you can come in and use Belzona 3111 with its reinforcing sheets to just attack those problem areas and pretty much solve those leaking issues. Now, as far as what else we can do on the more industrial side, we do have our storage tank capabilities as well. Same thought pattern, same process with 3111 and 3121. You can go over the riveted seams of your tanks, any real seam of your tank, just to keep out any of that rainwater or other issues that you just don't want to get inside of your tank. Now, one of our main things that we've done with storage tanks is our Belzona Seal Tank system. Now, if you look at this picture, you'll notice the tank chine is coated with our Belzona 3111 white. And what this does, this seals your tank chine from any moisture getting back under it. It also permeates the vapors from underneath the tank. So anything that's already under the tank between the chine and tank bottom, such as any standing water that's almost impossible to get out while you're repairing it, it does have that chance to evaporate out. But any liquids will not be able to get back through this coating, so it will not let anything else in. And then also you can use 3121 for this. We're going to break down the coatings a little farther on into the PowerPoint here, but for right now, this is just kind of showing you some of the areas we can hit. Another area a lot of people don't know about that we can do is our insulation waterproof coating. It's called Belzona 3211. It's another single component that's used with a reinforcing cloth as well. I believe it's 9321. And it can bond to almost any kind of, mineral wool, your glasses, your urethane foams, your calcium insulations. And it doesn't have to be brand new insulation. All you have to do is be able to give it a good little clean, and you can properly condition it with our Belzona conditioner, and it'll go right on and protect you from future waterproofing issues. Another area we also are going to address today are our expansion joints and other penetration areas. A lot of issues like in hospitals or areas, that have basements where a lot of groundwater can penetrate up through the slabs, or issues where water can go from one floor to the next. We come in and we do what we call our smooth ride application, where I don't know if you can see my mouse, but you'll come into the sides and we tear out the old joints, refill in the new concrete with our Belzona 4000 series, and we'll use a Belzona 2000 series elastomer, or in some cases our 4000 series 4521 elastomers for the new joint. And the great thing about these, most of these lines right here do have some chemical resistance. So if you have certain contaminants in your plants where you're dealing with certain chemicals like an acid or something, we can have that option to give you a little bit of chemical resistance as well. And here's just another issue that almost everyone that has a building runs into, where your penetrations are coming either from your floor, wall, ceiling, or around your drain areas. We can use these materials such as our 2000 series elastomers to go around the penetrations. As you can see a before and after right here. We're actually at a local hospital right now doing this exact same issue on 4 through wall penetrations for them today. where they're having issues where their concrete and pipe interface, every time it rains, it deals with leaks. And this room has a lot of sensitive equipment in it that they store, so you really don't need water getting in there. We also have done several drains in, say, multi-story buildings where your kitchen may be on the second floor, and where you go to rinse down your kitchen materials or any kind of soups that get spilled, et cetera, that get into the drain, but around the drain, they get through due to an insufficient seal between the drain and concrete, and they'll drain into the office building below or the lobby building below. So we can come in with our Belzona 2000 series or 4000 series and seal those up for you. This is also something Belzona 3121 can handle as well, and we've done that in many different cases. It just varies based on the service and what you're expecting to get from the repair. So now we'll kind of break it down into our different membranes here. This is going to be our 3000 series, and I did a brief overview, but this is going to kind of give you a little more in depth. Now, our 3111 is going to be our single component water-based membrane. That's going to be mainly used, like I said, for your joint sealing in your roofs, your tank chine coatings, or you can also coat the entire roof with this. 3121 is a two-part solvent base that's actually a little more robust, and it can take a little more tolerance to poor surface prep. Let's say you have a roof that's leaking and it's in the middle of a rainstorm. You're going to see a video shortly through the end of this slide about this, but 3121 is made to where you can't really get perfect prep, but you need to quickly seal the leak on a roof, and that's going to be your go-to coating for that. Belzona 3131 is basically the same thing as 3111, except it's an oil base, so it is a little stronger. And then your 3211, it's also a single component. Like I said, that's going to be for your insulation coatings, where you just need to stop water from getting into your insulation and ultimately causing CUI, which is a big issue for a lot of people. So this is just an illustration showing you what I was talking about Belzona 3111 and our other membranes will allow water vapors to escape, but it will not allow any liquid water to get back through. So it's going to let that vapor come through the membrane to get out of your tank base to try to stop that corrosion from happening between your tank and your chine. But when it starts to rain, it's not going to let any of that back through. And I've got a perfect example. I'm sure we all remember Hurricane Harvey, where just about everywhere in Houston saw 3 to 4 feet of flood water. There was a tank terminal. It's going to remain unnamed, but they had several tanks that were empty, and tanks side by side. Some were coated with Belzona 3111 sealant tanks, some were uncoated. This flood water, once it got to a certain level, actually lifted several of these uncoated tanks off their tank pads. All of the tank bases that were coated with Belzona 3111 sealant tank, no water was allowed to get under that tank base in between its chines. So those tanks actually stayed in place. Now, that's a very rare occurrence, but it can happen again. But just imagine the cost savings that you can do compared to not letting your tank be able to get lifted up by the floodwaters in case that ever does happen again. So that's something to think about. Right here is going to be kind of a step-by-step illustration of our 3111 sealant tank with the 9311 reinforcing cloth. And like I said, it's a single component, water-based. You do need a conditioner for it, depending on if you're going on metal or concrete. We have 2 different kinds. You can get with us on your specific application and we can help dial in the correct conditioner for you. Now, it's a 2-coat system, typically 12 to 16 mils after it dries is what you're looking for. And like we said, it is permeable to water vapor. Then the reinforcing cloth will actually add a little bit of strength. And the main thing I've noticed about this versus other coatings that seal tank chines, it's very thin and it looks better and it's very easy to use. So as you can see, here's our before and this is our during. It's all easily applied by hand. It can be sprayed, but most of the times it is applied by hand with a stiff bristled brush. 1 coat with a cloth laid into it. You use your cloth as your thickness gauge. Once the cloth is covered, that's when you know you're thick enough. Let it dry several hours later and you can come back and put your top coat on. And this is your end product. And like I said, it looks very good. It comes in white or gray if you want to color match your white or gray tanks, which is the predominant colors. And like I said, this can save a lot of money in the long run with issues of corrosion underneath your tank base. Now, like I said, this can be used for roof linings, and we've talked about doing the tank chimes. We've talked about doing spot repairs and seam repairs on a roof. Now here's a picture of 3111 across an entire roof. Every seam was realigned and reinforced with Belzona 9311 reinforcing cloth, and the entire roof got 2 coats of Belzona 3111. And this is going to help add to the lifetime of your roof, and also it's going to make cleaning it a lot easier. It's also, the white also helps reflect a lot of the heat off of your roof, so to help with your cooling costs as well. And that's just another example of a project we've done with BHI where the client had an issue with his metal roof and a skylight. They're starting to see water penetrating through and causing issues in their office. So BHI came in. We came up and did a little pressure wash clean with a wire brush as well, just to knock any contamination loose and make sure the surface was clean. And in one day, not even a full day, we came around and applied Belzona 3121 across the entire seam of this skyline, and they haven't had any issues since. Now, I talked about Belzona 3121 being able to seal a roof leak in a very, very quick manner. This is a video I'm going to show you. It's in real time. It's not sped up. It's going to show you just how fast Belzona 3111 can actually seal a hole in your roof. This can even be put on during a storm while it's raining on you. And as you can see, that's a very fast and effective way to seal a roof leak, especially during the rain. I've done this myself several times down here for trainings on this weatherproofing material, and it works great every single time. Within about 2 minutes, the entire process is done, and we're pouring a whole bottle of water on it. We're trying to break through, and it's very hard to do so, especially when the material is applied properly. Now, Belzona 3121 isn't limited just to sealing roof leaks, since it's also a lot more robust than Belzona 3111 is. We like to use it in cooling tower seams where you're going to see a lot of movement and a lot of flowing water churning across these seams. And anyone that owns cooling towers know a lot of the times this is where your leaks happen. So we'll come in and do the same system you just saw in this video across every seam, and that will stop any leaks in the future from occurring during the cooling tower service life. And like I said, it also is surface tolerant, so it doesn't really require an SP10 abrasive blast like most of our coatings do. A lot of times just a good wire brush clean and an acetone wipe down or an MBK wipe down will do you just fine. It also doesn't need a conditioner like all of our other 3000 series materials do. And this is just another example of the 3121's ability to shine for us. You see on your left, you'll see a very big skylight in a library, which that's probably one of the places you want to get water into. They've had seam issues, and this is so large you can't really tell where the leak's coming from. So the best solution is just go ahead and do every seam that you can while you're there, because like I said, it's very hard to really pinpoint certain leaks because just like every other roof leak, it can be leaking from 30 feet from where the water is actually getting into your house or your building from. So another thing that I love about our 3000 series products, my last career was commercial construction. Any repairs I've seen or leak seals I've done on roofs with other products are just not very visually appealing. Belzona 3121 and 3111, even 3131, it's when it's applied right, you can get it in good straight lines, nice even coats. It's just a lot more appealing when someone gets back up on your roof, or especially if they can see you repair it from the roof. So that's another key factor that I love about our products. And I'll switch gears to expansion joints now. And like I said, this is two different series that you can use, your 2000 series or your 4000 series. I'm going to go ahead and start on 2000s. You got two different options. You can do 2221, which is a pourable grade version that I like to use on our horizontal expansion joints, like the bottom middle picture that you'll see there. You also have certain expansion joints that might run up a wall, or you might have just vertically apply it. That's going to be 2211. That's got a consistently similar to peanut butter, in my opinion. Just for anyone that hasn't seen this, that kind of gives you a good visual of what you're going to deal with when you mix it. So like we said in the beginning of the PowerPoint, the 2000 series is very flexible and it's chemically resistant to a lot of different chemicals. So it could be put on in, say you have an expansion joint in your containment area at your refinery or your chemical plant. This might be something that you could put in to still give you that resistance, but also do the job of an expansion joint. And we'll be happy to help you nail down the correct series or correct line of Belzona materials. If you shoot us an email or give us a call with your specific problems that you want us to help you with, we'll be happy to nail down the right one for you. And also, we have our 4000 series. That's really used for more of our larger containment areas. It's a little bit more working life, a little bit more forgiving than our 2000 series, but it does take a little longer to set up. But like I said, if you're doing like a full parking lot or a large containment across a highway, this might be the best series for you to use. And here's a real world example. This was a construction joint, well, expansion joint across a major highway where the joint was failing and basically not being able to seal properly. So you'll see them here. They're pulling out the old failed joint and they're doing any cutting to any failed metal or any other mechanical repairs that they need to do before they replace our lining. So the Belzona 4521 is used in this application. Typically, the full loading is about 12 hours at 86. Down here in Texas, it rarely gets between 68 to 86 between now and December. So most of your time at 104, which is what we like to use in this time of day or this time of year, it's about 6 hours you can walk on it. So here's an after. And like we said, this is on a major highway. So time is of the essence. When they have these lanes blocked off, they need to do as quick as they can to restore traffic and get everything back up and running. And then lastly, this is one of my favorite products. This is called Belzona 5122. A lot of people have issues with water penetrating through bricks, masonry, or other concretes around the home or office buildings or industrial buildings for that matter. What this is, think of it as applying a wax to your vehicle. It creates a sealed layer around everything you applied on as far as your brick and mason work. It's also doesn't really hold dirt as much, so it makes it much easier to clean your buildings, clean your concrete. It also kills a lot of your mildew growth and your moss growth. And one of the good things about it, it doesn't have a shine or a sheen. So once it's applied and dries, you can't tell it's there. And this is just a little example of a fountain in a hotel room that we've done where they have issues with water egressing through the masonry work. So this was taken where came in, cleaned the bricks, cleaned all the masonry work, applied the 5122 around it, and they haven't had any issues since. That's just a building example that we can use. I can talk about it all day long, but I think this video I'm about to show you is really gonna help you learn exactly what the 5122 is. Now, before we do this, it can be applied with a pump sprayer. It's very easy to apply. It's a 1-to-7 mix. It's just like mixing up any kind of chemicals or any kind of spray you're going to use in your backpack pump sprayer at home. And just like you saw in the video at the end, since it doesn't really allow moisture to permeate through the brick or masonry, it does stop the effect of spalling or cracking your concrete when it gets very cold and then thaws back out, which in Texas doesn't happen often, but as we all know, in February, that kind of situation can happen. And that's going to conclude our presentation on our general waterproofing. I appreciate you showing up and giving us your time today to let us show you what we can do for your waterproofing needs. Now, and that was kind of a broad general overview. Please shoot us an email or give us a call if you have a specific question or specific problem you'd like us to help you with. We're happy to give you some one-on-one help. And we also offer turnkey services if you want someone to come